Hey everyone, lead trainer with Stocks Trade, Tim Bohen back here. Today we're going to be talking about, number one, the emerging hot sector for the second time, is also a lot of techniques to pinpoint hot sectors and be ready for when they come back. So that being said, I also feel like I don't talk enough about traders' nutrition. Now, very important. So cold brew and Zen, baby. That's all you need. Maybe a little lean protein once a day, 24-hour fast, not a bad idea. Anyway, that being said, my friends, quantum, okay? A lot of you know back in November, we had that epic quantum stock run, and then we heated up again into December when Google dropped that announcement about their Willow quantum computer. And, stocks are off to the races, and then fortunately, we got a big pullback the other day, which set us up for that second leg. Now, there was some news out, kind of back and forth between some of the bigger companies. Google saying this thing's coming any day. Some of the competitors were saying it's 20 years out. But what's nice about that is that gave us a pullback. So a couple, gonna go over a lot in this video. Number one, depending on when you see this video, probably all the way through spring, even into summer, I think the quantum computing plays are going to have a very prolonged hot sector. Now, that doesn't mean they're green every day, but we'll have multi-day runs out of these. They'll pull back, they'll consolidate, we'll get more news flow, and they'll run again. So that's important for a lot of different reasons. Number one, because of being able to identify the best hot sector play is always important, but a lot of great trades, especially for those of you that are part-time, like a lot of you can't be at the desk every second of the day, and then that big runner goes, and then you fire up the phone or you fire up the computer and you're like, oh, I missed it. Sympathy plays, okay, guys. Number one, one of the great ways to catch the best trades is let that kind of head of the snake, as we call it, lead the pack. Everybody chases it up. Then you can find some of the undiscovered plays that trade a little smoother, not quite as volatile, less likely to get spiked out because it is that kind of head of the trend. So there's a lot of people piling in, a lot of people piling out for profits. So there's a lot of different ways to do that. One thing I would suggest, you've got this on screen. Feel free to screenshot this. I like to share with you. I've got the majority of the biggest quantum computing plays here at the top. These are more of the day trades. Then we've got some of the more real stocks down below that we kind of use as an indicator. When you think of when we trade higher price stocks, we're always watching the S&P to kind of get a bullish, bearish sentiment on the day. We use these kind of higher priced, slower movers. When they're red, when they're green on the day, look to get a little more aggressive in the low price plays. If they're fading on the day, that's where we dial back or maybe look to short. Okay, that's what's great about hot sectors as well. They trade them both ways because of the volatility. You can catch big moves on the long side as well as short them back down on the short side. So feel free to share this. Now, one thing I will say is, depending on when you see this list probably won't be complete. That's the next topic I want to talk about. All of you, and I would beg you, should be building some sort of sector watch list. Now, I like Google Docs because it's really easy to share with the people I mentor. I can just share it. It's easy to do. It's very handy, the Google Finance functions. Now, they aren't real time. That's the one drawback with using Google Finance formulas, but you can get semi-real-time volume, percent gain. You can do formulations. They even have charting ability. It's just a really nice tool to kind of keep an eye on the sector. And then when you want to know what one's doing real time, you just jump over to your trading platform, type it in, you're good to go. But you can have this over on a side window. You can even do conditional formatting when they go green. They'll flip from red to green. A lot of great stuff in Google Finance. Explore it, okay? Because especially if you're well-versed in spreadsheet formulas, it can come really handy, especially if you can even do filters, all kinds of stuff. But anyway, the reason I like this is what happens with hot sectors, like I mentioned, they come into vogue as they did in November and December. Then about a week ago, they kind of go out of vogue. They go to sleep for a little while. And then all of a sudden you're running your high day scan or you're running Oracle and you're like, whoa, I see QBTS on there. I see RGTI on there. And now, instead of scrambling to try and figure out what other quantum plays are, you just go to your Google Doc and you've got them all. I do this with EVs, AI stocks, oil and gas stocks. I've got all these spreadsheets tracking those sectors for penny stocks, okay? Specifically for penny stocks, because they come and go. That's the other reason why you want to maintain your spreadsheets. Keep them up to date, because we know in low price stock land, you'll have the pivot plays. I'm sure all of you are familiar with those in the past. These sketchy companies that go from one sector into like weed, and then a couple years later, they're a crypto play, and then a couple years later, they're a green energy play. Never investments, okay? Never investments, but day trades. Those pivot plays, because they are so heavily shorted, are the ones that go, 100%, 200%, et cetera, in one day, okay? Not rare by any stretch of the imagination. So that way you can maintain your sheets and add the pivot plays, maybe even new companies, IPOs, SPACs. You start adding those to your list, even if they're not in play. Like, that's another tip I'll give you. If there's let's say the quantum slow down for a little bit and you see a stock that announced a press release, hey, we're in quantum computing now, drop that in your sheet so when the sector comes back, you don't forget about that, okay? And what I like, again, about Google Docs, you can short by, what I always do, we always want to focus on the most liquid plays. So I'm always sorting by pretty much day volume. And you can see RGTI actually pushing into after hours right now, not quite at a high day. Probably the number one stock going into tomorrow morning, all day grind. Actually, Oracle had a day trade alert on this right here at 687. That's a great way to trade these sector plays. Wait for them to hit Oracle. So yeah, RGTI 687 entry. Here it is at 9 plus. Going to be using Oracle on it tomorrow as well. And then QBTS, again, 139 million shares traded and 23% gain. Also a top watch into tomorrow. Now, next question before I kind of wrap this up is, how do you build these watch lists? Now, there's a lot of ways to do it. Okay, my preferred way is, and obviously I'm biased, okay, but one thing that's handy in stocks to trade is this related tab. Now, if you've got stocks to trade, you can use it. Like, a lot of you might have never even noticed it. So if I go to RGTI and I go to the related tab, you'll see a lot of those stocks on that spreadsheet. QBTS, IONQ, QUBT, Supermicro, on down the list. So what that allows you to do, and what I do, big surprise, sort by volume and sort by float. So we all, if you've been a subscriber to the channel, you know why we love low float so much. If you don't, check out the channel. Anyway, understand low float stocks for day trading. So I can sort by volume, I can sort by float, and then I can look at, I can dial in, I can like double click QBTS. Now I can see the chart. Also pushing the high of the day. I can go to the profile tab. Oh, I can see what they're into. Even have their web page right here. I can just click it. Hey, guess what? Unlock the power of practical quantum computing today. So that related tab, especially if you're starting, brand new with your spreadsheets, you can just go there, look for the lowest float, highest volume plays, and start plugging them in. And again, as I mentioned, I got a little bit of hiccups, more cold brew, man. So as I mentioned, even if, like, let's say you're watching this video 6 months down the road, everything I just taught you applies to whatever that hot sector is, okay? 6 months from now, a year from now, maybe it's, space plays again. Maybe it's, again, electric vehicles again. Maybe it's some new technology that comes in, social media plays. When you're trading short term, hot sectors, hot sectors, hot sectors, hot sectors. I think I did a video about a year ago, very similar to that, where I just drove it home. If you're limited by your number of trades and limited by your number of time or amount of time, it's always hot sector plays because it gives you the best potential. Doesn't guarantee winners by any stretch, but if you're limited by the PDT or you're limited by time or maybe both, you want to be focused on the most explosive movers, which are hot sector plays. So let me bring that back up on screen You can pause it, steal my list if you want. I'm all about sharing. Sharing is caring, along with my nutrition tips with the Zin and the coffee. And anyway, most importantly, everyone, have a great day. And if you really want to get in depth on doing all of this work, like this routine, day in the life of a day trader, I can't recommend anything better than the Daily Income Trader system. I go live every single day, 8:30 and noon Eastern. I'm in the chat room all day long. We're building these sheets. We're mapping out charts. We're trading together. It's basically an immersive experience in trading. Very proud of it. So if you're interested in something like that, hit that link below. Check out the Daily Income Trader system. And man, quantum's going to be hot.